by alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon by taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Friend from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Welcome, one and all, to the People's Pitch Podcast, the premier podcast of Minneapolis City SC. I guess the only, but also that means premier.
Yeah, no offshoots yet.
I am your host, Nate Morales, joined as always by the irrefutable John Bisworm. John, Mother Nature tried to pump the brakes on your soccer season yesterday. Did you have your high school boys out shoveling today?
I don't know what's gonna go on, man. 6 inches of snow doesn't really lend itself well to being able to play. So I don't know. We trained indoors the past 2 nights, but they've moved our matches around. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. But for those of you who are Stegman's guys that might be listening to this, I've already had one instance in my life where I was kicked off of a field for shoveling it off. So I put my hands up and said I would not be participating in that. So. But I don't know. We'll have soccer again soon or not. And then I'll just get back into the city swing of things. Either way, cool with me. So decent show tonight we got here, Nate.
I think so.
We've yet to cover a main topic that we typically do on this show. And we danced around the idea of it. But FIFA 21 is out and they finally made a career mode for this guy. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We have more 7v7 action to talk about, as well as we have a guest tonight, Pick'em League participant, board member, and citizen Paul Smejkal is going to be joining us. So I believe he's only the second fan we've ever had on. So it's actually you can consider host dad a fan.
Yeah,
maybe our third fan that we've had on. But can't wait for you guys to be introduced to Paul and hear his journey into soccer and how he got started with Minneapolis City.
Absolutely. Well, let's get started, John. FIFA came out a couple weeks back at the beginning of October, and neither of us really got a chance to dive in early. Both of us have in the past been all over the beta mode, all over the pre-beta, just to get a taste, right? But this year, we've got families and jobs and other commitments, so it kind of fell by the wayside, and I was really just waiting for the pre-order release date to jump in. And after our first show, and after talking about the game, I should say after the first Foot City Twitch show and talking about the game, you decided also to cave and buy a copy this year. And I'm going to say, I don't know, man. I've never heard you gush about FIFA like this for years. I think people say online, like pretty typically year to year, they tend to hate on FIFA because the game doesn't make a ton of changes, right? Like they're waiting for some sort of huge gameplay update. I don't know what they're expecting, but this year, I think the best mode, which is career mode, is way different. The game, EA has made a ton of changes. It feels like EA went super granular with career mode. There are some big new things around how you manage your team and how you scout new talent. And I assume you are fully in on all of it.
Bro, the year... The year not to be a beta tester anymore, it was like they just pulled up my old file and just to fuck with me. They literally made a training module for teams in career mode or cup competitions that's like training a real soccer team. And I was like, I remember I was texting, I was like, holy shit, dude, I can do this, I can do that. Like, I honestly hadn't even... I typically, as most people know that follow the show, whenever it comes out, I'm like a mini game guy. I dive in, I play the mini games, I get the feel of the movement, and because it does change every year. I mean, there's something, whether it's faster or the directional pad is a little bit more sensitive on where you point to pass, all that stuff. And my way to get acclimated to all that is in the mini games, and then I find myself, a half bottle of Granddad Deep on a Saturday night, and I'm like, it's like 4 a.m. and I've been doing nothing but mini games. But after I got done with that, I dove into career mode, which I usually do, and I typically take my old boys FC Kaiserslautern, and I try to bring them up to Champions League glory every year. Some years I'm successful and some I'm not. But that's typically what I do. I had to dive in and actually play with Man United because I wanted a team I liked, but also a team that had a little more skillful players to try to figure out how to do the career mode the right way before I dove in with zero money and players that sucked. So I dove in in a Premier League season with Man United, and what I learned is that you can fully adjust your training days up to like months out. So like you can look at your calendar and you can pick and choose like who you train or when you train and when you can give guys days off. So there's recovery days as well, and that's like unheard of in sports games, right? Like you usually just like hammer your guys until they're dead and you're like, all right, I'm done with that. And hope they perform even though their fatigue is low or whatever. But you can actually like really set a training plan. And I was like, well, look at this. Okay, now we're talking. But I also like that I mentioned briefly that there are the group trainings instead of just focusing on one player. You can still focus on a player. But the group trainings, you can actually like work on your squad. And I'm so glad they did it because I mean, if you look at other modes where they've spent their time on like the journey, I really liked the journey with Alex Hunter. Like I really dove into that and I felt like all in on it. And I was a little disappointed last year when it was taken away. Some people, I don't know who you are if you're out there that actually plays Volta. Have you like
me? No, I mean like no.
Like, yeah, like
why? Why?
I know I don't quite get that, and now they've kind of like mixed Volta and the journey together, and I'm like, why? Like I get it. It's like grassroots, whatever. If you play it,
taking it to the streets, John. I mean, were people really that involved? Like the first part of the journey, right? Alex Hunter, it might have been in, what was it, the second season of the journey where he ends up with his boy in Brazil and you have to play like a street soccer game.
Yeah.
And it's like, did people love it that much? They're like, let's do a whole mode.
Right. Yeah. Like, you know what we need more of? Street soccer. It was like, it was probably the guy who like never gets called on in class at FIFA.
Yep.
And they're like everyone needs 3 ideas. And he's like, more street soccer. And they're like, let's do it. But I really wish they would have gone back and spent some more time on maybe the journey with now seeing what you can do within the career mode. I think it's something that they could bring back. Maybe not like an Alex Hunter type situation, but maybe more so dedicated to when you do single player career mode. Mm-hmm. If they could maybe level it up to make it a little bit more of a story versus just creating a player and diving in and hoping that you stick with the team you like.
Yeah.
But I'm total like old school Oregon Trail style, Nate, where with my team in career mode with all this new training, it's like totally grueling pace, low rations for my boys. Like I literally, I train all the time. I rarely have recovery days. And what I found is maybe a hack. If you toss in like a younger player or one of your older bench veterans for some spot starts over a starter and you're pushing them that hard, there's something that happens there and you get an interesting result. And I know you're gonna talk about it in a little bit, so I'll dive into it. But they actually level up in certain areas that you're going to talk about organically by almost like a competitive call it meta. Like there's some sort of competitive thing there for players that are ranked 75 or higher, that if you train them hard and you play like a 75 or lower in front of them, they level up. And I'll talk about it here in a second.
Interesting. Yeah, let's talk about team management, John, because you were really into it. So in addition to form, and happiness, which is a new thing from a couple years ago, there's another new metric, and that is sharpness. So instead of your weekly training sessions every Sunday or whatever that improve your players' ratings, right? Managers now have to juggle 2 to 3 mini game training sessions a week in addition to the games in order to manage sharpness, all while keeping players' fatigue in mind. Because if they're fatigued and you roll into game day, they're not going to be able to play as long. So you've already kind of talked about, you already raved about this a little bit, but how do you like this addition of sharpness to the mix?
Bro.
I'm loving it again.
Again, I love it, man. I mean, I still don't quite understand how they define sharpness versus fatigue, because in my opinion, like, if you're fatigued, you're not going to be sharp, and if you're sharp, you're not going to be fatigued.
I think they're saying, like, if your player isn't like used to like being on the ball, they're going to make more mistakes in game.
And I don't know how that they justify that in the logic either. But anyways, it's no secret that I can play mini games for days. So I'm like, you want me to do more of that? Sure. Just keep throwing different mini games at me so I don't do the same ones over and over again, which I've played all of them, I'm pretty sure. And there are quite a few that I wish they would have brought back from like the 15 and 16 versions that were just total time sucks for me. But we're awesome. So I hope that they continue to add value by maybe even slightly modifying some of the mini games so it doesn't get monotonous. But so far I've been okay with it. But what I found, what I mentioned before that I'll talk about now, is that you can literally hammer on your stars and for no reason just start someone else that's not as high ranked as them every so often, and they almost like become sharper.
Your stars do?
Yeah, like it's like a competitive edge where, like, so for example, I switched my formation up, so I had 5 in the central midfield because there's so many good central players for United. And then just one day I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna train Bruno Fernandes super hard this week, and then I'm gonna start Juan Mata over him. And then all of a sudden, like, I did that, and the next time I went back to play, Bruno Fernandes' sharpness was all the way up to 100. His fatigue was low, and his attitude was way low. But at that point, I was like, "Fuck you! I don't care. If you're happy, like, I'm in charge of, like, you're just a little digital person. I'm in charge of you." But for some reason it like leveled him up in other areas. And so then what I did was I immediately just extended his contract for another 2 seasons, and I gave him more wages per week. And then I saw his happiness go up. I didn't give him a ton more money, but I saw his happiness go up. And then I saw all other stats went up. And then, then I did the same thing with Pogba, and Pogba's stats went through the roof. So I don't know if it's like a glitch or if there's something that I unlocked that is in there that no one else had thought of. It's definitely something to try. But literally it was like, I'm going to see what happens if I just train this guy to death and then see if first, actually, I should take a step back. First off, I trained a guy to death, and then I played him, and he was garbage.
Yeah, because the fatigue is so low, right?
Sharpness was low, fatigue was low, like everything was low. Like, it was a totally different player out there. And then I was like, okay, well, what if I do the same thing and then I start someone else? And then all of a sudden I was like, I think I'm onto something here. So anyways, that's something I found that was pretty cool. Yeah.
But that means
bleed them dry, man.
Without that weekly training to improve your youth squad and to improve your high potential senior squad players, they added a new method to improve players on both your senior team and your youth squad. You have to set development plans per player that will improve their stats based on the role that you want them to grow into. So if you've got, like, for instance, a striker and you set his development plan, you can set him as a target man, as a poacher, as all these different roles, right? Or just like basic, right? And based on each of those roles, for instance, like speed will go up, acceleration will go up, but maybe strength won't. But if you set him as a target man, his strength will go up, his His passing might go up, and shooting might go up, but speed is not going to go up. That includes, of course, then you can set plans for them to switch positions too. So you can move a guy out to the wing, or you can move a guy that is maybe a pretty speedy winger that kind of sucks offensively. You can tell him to get back to the right back position and figure defense out, which is kind of cool. No mini games involved in that. Progress takes weeks and weeks and weeks, but it definitely is a new spin on training that I'm not super mad at. How do you like it?
Bro, I love it. Like I said, they picked up my old beta tester file. We're like, all right, this guy's got some ideas. No, I love it. The one thing that I was down on is when you start a career mode and they're like, in order to keep your job, you have to develop 3 youth players, and you're like, I don't have fucking time for that. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, yep, I'm done. I don't have time to I need to train my guys and not so I can win games, but not and level up some proven younger players that you maybe picked up that are what do you call those guys? The
high potential.
The high potential hack guys where you get them at 17 and by the time they're 20 you're selling them for millions of dollars, or you're keeping them and winning titles. I got to focus on that. I don't have time to focus on getting a scout to go find these guys and spending my money when I need to buy a guy. I need to buy a proven player. I was always down on that development piece until this, because then you can actually look at your squad and look at the makeup of the players that your scout has brought in, and you can be like, okay, well actually this guy has potential to be a right back and a striker. I'm going to train them for both, or one, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to do the other one because I know I'm going to need a right back maybe in 3 years. And so the requirements I'm trying to train the youth squad, I think is far and way better now. Nice.
John, any other likes or dislikes so far about the career mode in FIFA?
I would say I don't have any likes or dislikes from the career mode. Actually, I do have one like. I don't have any dislikes. I have some other just gameplay dislikes that I'll just talk about a little bit later here. But my other like is that they've actually made it so that you can actually do more of a football manager type style, where I'm not a huge fan of simming many games, but we've all done it where you're you just get button fatigue and you're like, I'm playing Norwich, I'm going to win. I just want to sim this game and get it over with, and then, get to, the Champions League game I have right after. Yeah. Without getting anybody hurt or whatever. I just want to sim it. And then you end up getting a guy hurt and you're like, well, shit, that sucked. I should have played that game. But now they allow you to start the sim and then actually follow the action and then jump in and play the game at any given point. And I think that's awesome, because that gives the people who, like myself, get button fatigue and you're like, I don't have enough time to play every game, but I want to play every game. And this way you can dive in. If there's an attacking sequence where you have numbers up, you can dive in and play and where it starts and then try to finish it off. Or in, say there's a counterattack and you're on the defensive end, you can jump in and select a guy and maybe snuff out the counter. And then you can go right back into simming the game, the football manager. I think that's great. I think it's a really good idea. I feel like, though, it's one of those capabilities, Nate, that might get the axe next year. I don't think enough people are going to like it. Or we're going to get more people who like it. So definitely like that. From a dislike perspective, or just things I noticed, whoever in FIFA, if you could please listen to what I'm about to say. When I point my goddamn joystick towards a guy who's open and I pass the ball with plenty of pace on it, go to the fucking guy that I pointed to.
That happens to me quite a bit.
Seriously, all this other logic that you're running through this game, the ability to on dead balls be able to do different types of spin and stuff and put balls here and there, and all the skill moves they've entered into the game over the years, they still haven't figured out passing. And to me, that's 99% of my game. If I can't pass, I'm done. And I still feel that they haven't quite mastered it, and it's the next thing that they have to figure out, because they fluctuate between is it too easy to score? Are the goalies too good? Are they not too good? We learned from Jonah during the E Cup that you could always score going near post, Like things like that I get trying to fix, but like fix passing, please. Like please fix passing. I also noticed too that on standard speed mode, the game felt a little bit sluggish to me.
Okay.
With off the ball stuff. I know there's the dynamic off the ball runs you can control now, and I haven't quite dove into that, but I'm gonna get there eventually and try to tinker with that and see if I can level up my play with it. But in general, I do feel like it was just slow. But when I put it on fast mode, then it got to the speed that I liked. So I've been playing all my games on fast mode.
Interesting. All right. For as far as me, I'm with you. A lot of the little controller issues are plaguing me. Pullbacks feel different this year. I'm used to being able to kind of stop progress and deke a defender out pretty easily with a pullback. But this year it's like they're real clunky. They're not as smooth. They're not as quick, and they end up losing me possession about half the time, and I don't like that. That's really strange. But I'm with you. I kind of like this new quick sim, like jump in, jump out kind of a thing, because at least, down the road, once I've developed the Forest Green Rovers all the way into a Premier League squad, it's like I don't really feel like playing every game, especially against some of these chumps. So it's like I'll just jump in, jump out. It's also but like early in the game, I'm not using it because I want to get to know the players. I want to kind of see how the team works, so I get where to develop it and who I need to replace. But I'm with you, man. I'm really excited about this new career mode. It's definitely a little more. I don't know. It's more work. It's definitely more granular. It's definitely more work. Yeah, than the last one. So I'll see how long it takes me to quick sim. One thing I did notice about the trainings, which I like, is like once you've done the mini game once and you've done well at it, you can just keep picking that mini game, and the highest grade that you have achieved in the mini game is the grade that your players achieve. So it's no longer random when you train either, which I like. It's like they can just, like, if I've gotten an A on something, everyone gets an A all the time. So I've got those done, where I can always just toss dudes in to make sure they're gaining sharpness and and they don't lose a ton of fatigue on it. So that's nice, but I don't think I'm going to be playing it more and more. I don't think I'll.
Have you run into an instance where you played it and got a lower grade, and then they got the lower grade?
Nope.
Because I haven't run into that, but because I've always leveled up on my grade, so I didn't know. Like I always got either more. If I got an A, I got more points as an A. But I've never done a thing where like I shit the bed and got like a D, and then saw my guys get Ds.
I think it's just the highest grade. It'll keep as your highest grade.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's good.
John, all this FIFA talk though reminds me. I got to mention Minneapolis City's new Twitch show, Foot City. You got to join me.
Fut stuff.
Join me and City players, of course, Jonah and Max. We explore FIFA's other half in our Twitch stream, which is Ultimate Team mode. I am not really an Ultimate Team veteran. These guys are. They're very good at it. So I'm really learning the ropes from the pros, all about how to build a competitive squad, how to climb the ranks to glory. Chances are I'm just going to go winless and embarrass myself, but I urge everyone to go to twitch.tv/MPLSCitySC and give them a follow. Give us a follow there so that you can catch us every time we stream, which is on Thursday nights usually, starting around 8 p.m. And these guys are good, man. You're going to see some highlights. You're going to see some squads that I can only dream of building on Ultimate Team. So, but also you're going to see my squad, and it's probably going to look a lot like your squad. So hopefully that'll make you feel good.
I mean, hey Nate, you could always sink like $300 into the game and then get right on par.
That's what Jonah does.
Yeah. I mean, I could find other uses for $300, but hey, if that's your thing, Go ahead. Is it every week or is it bi-weekly or is it kind of like hit or miss?
We're getting our rhythm. We did bi-weekly because there was they compete in the weekend league, and the first weekend league was this last weekend. So we wanted to do a kickoff show when the game released, and then we waited a couple weeks so they could get their weekend league on, and we're going to catch up with them tomorrow night, Thursday night, and then I think we'll try to do if not weekly, bi-weekly.
Okay, I like bi-weekly because it gives them more time to like do some awesomeness, and for you to try to get out of the shit pile.
Totally.
So we talked about it at the beginning of the show. There was some city action in another 7v7 format. Independently of the club, yet wearing our jerseys, a group of city players put their hat in the ring for the annual Socktoberfest 7v7 men's tournament up in Blaine this past weekend. Riveting action up at the old men's open division.
I bet.
But what you saw was so essentially for the folks who don't know, and there were 3 divisions. There was like an open rec and then like a middle one. But teams like some VSLT guys, some of the old school VSLT guys. I know Juan Fizz was playing in one of the brackets, nice. And then in the men's open bracket, which is the team that our guys put together to be in it. Martin and Whitney Brown were on a team. Ian Smith was on that team with them. A team that had Zuhir and Gato and Jake Simons. Wes Lawrence was on another team. So a lot of city guys sprinkled throughout, but we did have our own team in. It was made up of 11 guys. In goal was Mitch Wolf, who won best goalkeeper in our sevens league. So a good guy to bring in. The Brotherhood Cup MVP, Midu Youssef was on the team, as well as Aaron Olson, Nick Hutton, Cole Schwartz, who just missed out on the Golden Boot, Jonah Garcia, Lionel Vang, who had been with us in the past, but had been doing some other soccer stuff outside of the state, was back in action. Young guy, Eli Lloyd, was on the team, Max Stegwart, Charlie Adams, and then the Stockton to Malone assist winner of the Brotherhood Cup, Matt Gibbons. So quite the side
nice.
That we put together. A good balance, some new guys, some old guys, some medium guys. we had all the sizes.
And after like a fall's worth of 7v7 play, these guys were primed. They must have just crushed.
Right. I think they won undefeated. They wore the Open Cup jerseys that we would have won. So that was the Dazzle long sleeves, which is perfect for last weekend because they needed to wear long sleeves. And then Mitch Wolf wore the new goalkeeper jersey, the Cloud jersey. And I joked in the team picture, like, where does the sky end and Mitch Wolf begin? Because if you go on our Twitter channel, you'll see it's like a blue sky with clouds in the background, and you look immediately down to him. So it was like almost a green screen effect. So they played 3 group games. They scored a tune of 7-0, 3-1, and a 3-0 forfeit. So they only got 1 goal scored on them in the pool play. They faced off against Martin and Whitney Brown's team with Ian Smith and a couple other guys on that one in the semifinal, and they won that game 4-3, and then they won the final 7-1. So not a lot of goals given up. I was able to get out there and watch one of the games and the quarterfinal game against the U of M team, and actually that was a 4-2 game. That's a really good soccer game, actually, but not as high of a level across the board that I saw from any of the teams except for ours that we saw in the Brotherhood Cup. So like our guys literally were, like you said, like primed for this. The weather was a little bit crappy. I would have tried to make 2 games, but I brought one of the kids out and he was not having the weather, so we went home early. Which I mean, a 2-year-old who was super excited to go. Once we got there, not excited to stay. But it was good. It was good soccer by our guys. And you could tell that like our guys had been working together, even though, I'm looking at the makeup of the team. You got representatives of all 4 of our teams that were in the Brotherhood Cup. So it's, it wasn't like they had been playing 7-a-side together as a unit for the last 7 weeks, but they've definitely been training and playing together. So they had the tactics down, they had the formation down, they were putting goals in, they were stopping other teams. Where a lot of the other teams were just a bunch of individual guys who could do stuff, but they weren't necessarily a team. And our guys were moving the ball, moving off the ball, all the stuff that we saw in the Brotherhood Cup. So good for them.
As one of the top prizes of the 7v7 Pick'em League, we offered up a segment on this here show. Unfortunately, John and I picked up the top 2 spots in said league, so we ended up drawing. We ended up drawing names, and the winner is Citizen Board Member and all-around great guy Paul Smejkal. Paul, welcome to the show. How do you pronounce your last name? Because I see it spelled, and I have no idea how to say it.
Yeah, it's Smejkal. You actually got it.
I said
right.
it.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Nice. Close to Casper.
It's almost like you work with words every day, Nate.
I do.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, who
Word
would have
worker.
thought? So, Paul, as you noted in your our correspondence back and forth, letting you know that it was your day. This is your 15 minutes of soccer fame. So,
Oh my God, yeah. I don't even have like a SoundCloud or something to promote.
what better way to introduce getting a new one? But introduce yourself to the world and tell us your background, and then dive into your soccer journey. How did the game pop into your life?
Yeah, so I grew up in Nebraska, and in Nebraska when I was growing up, soccer didn't exist. All you had was Nebraska football. That was all
Go
there
Huskers.
was. Yeah, go Huskers. And so I didn't know much about the game. I moved here to Minnesota in 1989, shortly after getting out of college. And still just a football fan, American football fan. Then I got a job with a company that had facilities in Europe. And I traveled to France. And I was there for a couple of weeks. It was over a weekend, and a coworker invited me to go to a soccer game in Paris. I have no idea who was playing, but I sang, I danced, I drank too much, and absolutely had a blast and fell in love with the game. And then about 3 weeks later, I was in England on the South Coast, and again, over a weekend, and another coworker, an Englishman, took me to another match, and I saw Chelsea play. And I know, boo, 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 Chelsea, but I saw Zola play, and he was a magician. And all I know was that was a guy who was just playing with the opponents. And I started following Chelsea, and that was the beginning of my soccer journey. So I was 32, 33 years old at that time. So I didn't know anything about soccer until I was in my 30s.
I heard
and
that,
it quickly
man.
became a passion. So, here I am all these years later.
It's kind of when you dissect the different generations, the generation that you fall into, like, that makes a ton of sense. That for some Midwesterners, if you were like an East or West Coaster, and maybe even a Southerner to some extent, maybe if you're from Florida, you grew up with the game a little bit more because that's kind of where the hotbeds were. Maybe like take out of it Chicago and then Milwaukee, but in certain states it wasn't there unless you were introduced to it via a different channel because it wasn't on TV. I joke, when we had my dad on, we were talking about how we had one of those like backyard satellite dishes, that were like those 20-foot satellite dishes, and we were the only people who would get soccer games. So you really couldn't watch it here. So you needed it to be introduced to the game in a similar fashion like you were. So it makes total sense to me.
Yeah, it was absolutely enlightening. And what I was so fortunate with the company I was with that I was able to travel all over Europe and Asia. And everywhere I went, the people in the company started to know that I was a soccer fan. So if I was going to be there for a while, one of the things I was telling people is, hey, if there's a game, find it for me.
Nice.
Get me some tickets, I'll pay you. And so, I saw all different levels. It wasn't always the big leagues. It was local stuff too. It didn't matter to me. When you travel for business, and anybody that does that a lot knows it's just dull as can be. Every hotel looks the same. Every frickin' office looks the same. And so that was my escape.
Nice.
And so I saw a lot of different teams on a lot of different continents playing soccer, and I just enjoyed it.
What did you do when you came back to the States then to kind of scratch the itch?
I started watching some college stuff. So I was here So I was able to watch MIAC
Mm-hmm.
teams a little bit. My niece, who grew up in Fargo, is a hell of a soccer player. Um, Played for Concordia Moorhead, and so I started putting the schedules for St. Thomas and McAllister on my work calendar, because I mean I work like 7 blocks from both those schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean and it didn't matter whether it's the women's or the men's. I would just go and watch soccer.
Nice.
And so it was a lot of college stuff. I would pick up on the U of M women's team a little bit when I could. Um, you would go up to Blaine when it was the old, pre MLS uh, United, not on a regular basis, but a couple of times here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But never really was never a season ticket holder for anything or anything like that until I ran into Minneapolis City.
So you probably are one of the fans that's probably saw a lot of these guys that we have within the club play in college then, right?
I have, yeah. It's really fun. I don't know the guys well. I've met a few of them, but I've seen a lot of them on the field, and I just root for
That's
them.
cool.
I love that.
That's super cool that it's kind of come full circle. So my next question then is, how did you become a City fan? How did we get introduced to you to be the super fan that you are now?
Yeah, so a friend of mine, we were looking for something to do, and he said, "Hey, there's this local club." I think this was 2016, 17. The years run together. I'm an old guy. Yeah, but I think it might have been the first year. And he said, "Hey, there's this local soccer club. They're playing, near me. Let's go watch." And I did. And we just sat and watched and had a good time. I watched the citizens, I watched the fans and the supporters group, and I just thought these guys are fun. And I loved what I was seeing on the field. And so I think it was the following year I got season tickets, and my lovely spouse and I have been running around with the club ever since.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really interesting when you talk to fans because everyone kind of has their different introduction to it. Like some people were just totally, glued to soccer and local stuff, and that's how they got a hold of us. And some people were definitely introduced by others. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting that we've kind of put together this hodgepodge mix of individuals from all different walks of life, but it all revolves around what we've created. And it's super awesome. And I'm so happy that you've been a part of it.
Well, and it's definitely fun for me because I'm also a big believer in being local, and whether that applies to my professional life or any other part of what I do. I love to promote, staying local, being local. I shop local. I do all those things. And so when I, started checking into the club and I see this mission of, bringing soccer, high competitive soccer to Minnesota-based players and all that, I went, that just rang bells for me. Mm-hmm. And that was really important. I liked it a lot.
So Paul, a lot of people know, and we mentioned it before you dialed in, but our loyal listeners will know that you are a member of the Minneapolis City member board, right? Can you tell the folks a little bit about what went into that decision to kind of toss your hat into the ring and why you wanted to step into the leadership role with Minneapolis City?
When it was opened up for nominations, there was an email that went out, and one of the things in the email that said, hey, we'd love somebody with some accounting, finance experience, and that's what I do for a living. I've been doing that for 30 years. So I wrote an email to Chairman Hudeman and said, hey, I haven't been around the club all that long, but here's what I know. And I've worked with nonprofits and, but I feel a little silly running for board when I'm basically going to be a season ticket holder for the first time in this year. But he said, throw your hat in the ring. So here I am. That's
Nice.
how it happened.
So what is the purpose of the board for those who don't know, and what have your priorities been, or what have the priorities of the board been during kind of this weird non-season?
It is a weird non-season. The board in general is a bit of a is a bit of a sounding board, I guess. We do make decisions. The club keeps us well informed of what's going on. So as an example, with this crazy year, when the decisions were being made, what do we do with this pandemic, and can we play and everything else, that was brought to the board, and we voiced our opinion and voted on that. As an example of it, we talk about the league, we talk about different when we were talking about the possibility of UPSL for Minneapolis City 2. That was at the board. So we've had a lot of different things that have gone through the board. Not that we're the only decision makers, but we are definitely the voice for the members.
Well, it's great to hear you as a board member say that, because a lot of folks look at our model, and if you follow soccer Twitter or you follow the non-league life in America, a lot of member-supported clubs are popping up with a similar model, but not a whole lot of people actually understand what that means. And it's good to hear that, from you as a member, saying, these are high level decisions that the club needs to make, and we are part of it. And it's not just kind of a facade to say like, oh, our members help us run the club. It actually is a true thing.
It really is. And I feel very, very involved. I love it. And I hope that, what I always try to do is encourage anybody that's at the game, hey, if you got something that you want us to bring up, just tell me. I'll bring it. You know, they don't very often, but I'm always there. We always are.
The next thing you have to ask is if you have a lot of money, please let us know.
Definitely.
So Paul, you were at quite a number of the 7v7 matches this summer and fall, which is great, considering COVID.
Yeah.
So it's cool of you to come out.
Every one of them.
We talked to a lot of players and coaches about what the games were like and what their experience with the 7v7 were like. But I'm interested in to hear what you thought as a fan. What was it like attending? What was it like seeing these kind of smaller side games? And what was it like it was all city guys, from the newest, hopefully in development players, to some of the older vets like Charlie Adams. What was this experience like for you?
So first of all, as a passionate fan of soccer, I mean, I'm used to going to multiple games a week and seeing it live, and I hadn't seen anything live. And
you had the itch.
Oh, I did, and I think I was talking to Zahir after the first week, and I told him I just thanked him, and it was very genuine. I said, God, I just needed to be here and see you guys in person. It felt so good to do something that felt normal. It was so good for my soul. That was key number one. The other thing that I'd never seen the 7-on-7 soccer played at that high a level before, and I was blown away with the skill level and the speed of it, and the technical ability of these players. It was phenomenal, and to be right there on the field just made it that much more real. It was overwhelming. I was so thrilled. And then the last part that I just loved is seeing some of the younger guys I mean, I have my favorites. We fans, we
That's
have our
right.
favorite
Yeah.
players, right? And they've been around for a while. Man, I saw guys that maybe I caught them when at a U23 match a couple of years ago, maybe not. That I'm thinking our future is freaking awesome. I mean, these guys are gonna be pushing our stars to be even better, and they are the future. I mean, I think it was the first week I saw what's his name, Devin, in goal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I thought, Jesus, that dude is incredible. And another one that I saw was Eli.
Eli Lloyd.
I've never seen a guy faster in my life. I mean, he was a bullet, and I thought Zahir was a bullet, but Eli Lloyd might be faster.
Well, and he's only 17.
And he's only 17. That's just nuts. My wife didn't get to go to the first week, and I got home and she said, "What was it like?" And I said, I saw this guy, younger player, and he danced with the ball like he was a cat. I'm not making this up. And she says, "Oh yeah, right." And we go for the next week, and she sees this guy, and she goes, "Oh my God, you're right. I mean, he like dances with the boy, And then we find out what his nickname is, and it's like, oh, jeez, this is incredible.
Talking, of course,
I don't know. I was
Gatto.
Of Gatto, yeah, absolutely.
That is very cool.
It's not El Gato. We dispelled that rumor.
Just cat.
It's just Gato. So it's not the cat. It's just cat. But you're right. He does. He has this silky way about playing soccer that you kind of can't teach it, right?
No, I don't think so. Well, see, I don't know. I'm at such a disadvantage. I've never played the game. I mean, I didn't grow up with it. I don't know. I don't think you can teach it. That looks like God-given talent right there.
As a person who grew up with the game, you cannot teach that.
Fair enough.
So you are 100% correct.
You know what the other part I love though? I loved watching the older guys. You could see the leadership in them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was the first week. It might have been the second week. I was watching Tackled with Turtles, and they didn't have a good first half. And I watched Miles Norval at halftime talking to his team. And he showed such leadership, and they played so much better in the second half. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's why this guy is on the club. I mean, first of all, he's extremely talented, but he's a leader. And that was really cool to see as well.
Well, and as we move into the Futures program, that's going to be starting here in the not too distant future. It's quickly on our heels as we roll that platform out. Part of the coaching staff that we're going to be putting out there for the Futures isn't just Jeremiah. It's also going to be some of the older veteran players in kind of a mentorship role. So it was good to see. And I'm glad that you picked that up as well, to see some of these guys, whether it be Miles or Nick Hutton or Charlie Adams or even the Olivers, just taking it upon themselves, because there really wasn't any coaching, right? Like we didn't do a ton of it, but seeing them, gather their players together and say like, look guys, this is working, this isn't working. And we saw it with the Turtles. They made a run to the final by just getting their shit together as a team, and that started with their veterans.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was phenomenal to see.
So the citizens whom you are a part of, as you mentioned, handed out some sweet awards. Care to give the folks the 411 on those awards and maybe what they were and who won them?
Sure. Well, this started right when the club announced the tournament, and there started some Twitter banter between different citizens of, we should do some awards for this. And one of the reasons we wanted to do awards is because I think we all felt bad for the guys. I mean, we're geared up for a season, not only in the NPSL, but in the UPSL. We were going to win some serious trophies. I'm just telling you right now, we were going to do it. And all of a sudden, all of that's gone. And we thought, let's do something to show the team that we appreciate them and all they're doing. So we came up with 3 awards, made some homemade trophies.
This is awesome.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. I kind of came up with the concept for the trophies, and my lovely spouse, who is a much more talented artist than I am, basically figured out how to put them, make them into real things. So we had 3 trophies. One was called the Nutmeg Award, the best smelling trophy ever in the history of the world, because it was made of actual nutmeg. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Whole nutmegs. and had a little foam soccer ball glued on the top. So it I don't know, it was kind of fun. And the trophy that award was to be given to the player who was most likely to torment and nutmeg many Duluth players in some future match. And I think when you talk about players who are going to torture Duluth, I think you just got to talk Justin Oliver.
Born to do it.
The guy does that. He is born to do it. So Justin Oliver won the Nutmeg Award. And I thought that was very appropriate, given his history. He might be the most hated guy in Duluth. I don't know. He should be proud of that.
I think so. I think Chairman Hoodeman might be number 1, but player for sure.
Yeah, definitely. The second award was called the hashtag Technical Difficulties Award, based on an incident from a couple years ago, where, one of our opponents kind of postponed a match at the last moment. For whatever reasons, I don't know, rumors, but we thought, well, let's award this to one of the newer players that when our opponents find out that he's on our team, they're going to be so damn scared, they're going to make up a stupid excuse to postpone a match so that they don't have to play us. And that one went to Gato. Heck, we could have chosen 7 other players as well, but Gato was the winner of that one, and deservedly so. I mean, he's going to scare the hell out of some players.
So did you know, Paul, that Gato was actually on said team that postponed?
I did.
Okay,
I thought that was even funnier. Yeah.
Yeah, even funnier. So he was on the team, and then he wins the award when he joins us.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That's some sweet music right there, man. And then the last award was the Golden Crow, meant to be given to a more seasoned player with the club. And we thought about, again, there's so many players. How do you pick one? But we're not into participation awards, so we did pick one. And we thought about it, and there's this guy on the team that had just this hellish 2019 and probably didn't get the recognition that he deserved from the conference and whatever else. And so Jonah Garcia was the winner of the Golden Crow. And I thought that was pretty appropriate. The guy works pretty damn hard for us. So, yeah.
I mean, all great awards. I think you guys did a fantastic job. I know we were kind of talking back and forth about them, and I was like, whatever you guys decide, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And I'm glad we were able to carve out some time for you and Brian to hand those out after the final match. I thought it was great. And I know the guys really appreciated it too. So that was great. But it's been a hot minute since we've had a diehard fan on the show. I think we probably have to go back to one of the first ones where we had David Baker on.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to ask a two-parter. Who's your favorite City player of all time?
Oh. I'm a midfielder guy. I believe that you win matches because of your midfield. So
music to my ears, Paul.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so tough though. I love some of our midfielders. Max maybe? I don't know. Max? Yeah. I have such a hard time with this because I just root for these these guys. I mean, I want all of them to do so well.
That's okay.
That's tough. Yeah, I'm going with Max, the mighty Max Stiegert.
The mighty Max. That works.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep him around for a reason, right?
Oh, definitely.
So the second part is, what's your favorite memory of being part of the club so far? Whether it may be something on the field, off the field, whatever. What's your memory, or what's the story you tell people when you're explaining how awesome this is?
It was the match up in Duluth when we just needed to win, and we beat them. What was it, 4-2? And I believe it was Justin Oliver that scored a goal, and then he went and celebrated right in front of the Duluth crowd. I mean, he just taunted them. And I mean, that is so clear in my mind. I mean, he runs up in front of the Duluth crowd, jumps, and it's like, I mean, you knew he wanted to scream, F you, right? but he didn't, I don't think. And that was just a fantastic moment on the field. Off the field, I have had such a great time meeting other fans, the citizens. It's such a welcoming, inclusive, caring group of people that come from a lot of different backgrounds. I love that. So, going to the park before the game, next to Eater Nelson, and firing up the grill and just talking and having a nice time, that's really special for me.
Awesome.
That's cool. Well, Paul, the time has come, man. We've had a lot of games on the show, and it's time for you to play it. Our newest game is the one we call Ask John Anything. Hopefully you've been ready for this. You can ask John 2 questions about literally anything, and he has to answer them honestly, which he has a preternatural ability to. So if John answers both of them, the game is over. But if you make him plead the fifth on any question, then he has to answer your next one. So I guess the trick is to have 2 questions ready for John to that you think John would not want to answer, and make him answer at least one of them.
I feel like Paul did his homework, and I'm a little bit worried right now.
Oh no, you shouldn't be. I've heard some of the questions, and I would never have the courage to ask them. So I'm going to ask you 2 serious questions, but
okay.
I don't know that there would be any reason why you wouldn't want to answer them. Number 1,
okay.
You are now the czar of U.S. soccer. Okay, U.S. Soccer Federation is yours. What are the 2 or 3 things that you would have U.S. Soccer do to support local clubs like Minneapolis City?
Well, I think the first thing, the local piece is probably immediately where I would go to. So I'm glad you asked it that way. There's the reason why we started the club obviously was, it's no surprise that we're trying to elevate the level of soccer and the profile of players that are coming from the state. And we have never wavered on that. We haven't brought anyone in, outside, and there's been plenty of great players that we've had to turn away. But I think the number one thing I would do is just make sure that those introductions are made from top down. So, and make it a genuine focus that there's a pipeline from local amateur soccer all the way through to the top parent clubs that are in Major League Soccer. It's the organic pipeline for someone like an Eli Lloyd to have a platform to grow his game at a 17-year-old as a 17-year-old versus grown men who have played it at a high level. And you could see, from his progression from week 1 in the sevens to the final week, how much of a different player he was, because he was no longer playing with 17-year-olds and being the best player on the field. So I think that there's definitely a need to make it a focus to connect all the levels together in a way that's nurturing of players. Then when we push them through the top, all the way through the top levels, then we have more of a refined product. And that's what you see all over the world. And we just haven't done it here. So to turn a blind eye, I mean, even when you talk about the Open Cup, which is my next point, we have to have that connection point to local soccer and be willing to put money and put emphasis on it at an amateur level so that we continue to raise the profile of U.S. soccer. And that's number one. Number two is really looking at the U.S. Open Cup and trying to figure it out, because it's the second oldest domestic competition in the game in the world, behind the FA Cup. And it's not treated like that. So, and when you tell people if you talk to an English person, and tell them that, or an English soccer fan, and tell them that we have the next oldest domestic competition, and then they look at what it is, they probably laugh at you, because it's not, there's no emphasis on it except for giving Major League Soccer teams a pipeline to win it. And it only makes it better if you level up the profile of the games like we're in, to introduce this type of soccer to the casual fan who might just be a United fan or a Chicago Fire fan, etc. So I think that there really needs to be an emphasis, and they've tried to do it, but it was a half thought out idea, or a group of ideas to raise the profile of the earlier round matches at a national level, when everyone gets, super excited about the Christos of the world that make it to the round of 16, or Harpos, who are friends out in Boulder, when they went on their run. Everyone starts to get excited about an upset or an underdog team, when all they had to do was look at 3 rounds before, and there's a whole bunch of games with teams like that. So I think that probably my second one.
Nice.
Excellent.
All right. Question 1 in the books. Question 2.
So I was really struck, John, you posted a photo on Twitter a little while ago. It was one of those, then and now post photos. Start of the club and now where we're at 5 years later, which I thought was really cool. So now tell me, what do you see Minneapolis City as 5 years from now?
From now, that's a difficult question to answer. I clearly will answer it, but it's hard to tell because the landscape is ever changing. If you look at our league that we're in, gone are some of the real big staples of the league. There no longer are the Cosmos, the Miamis, the Chattanoogas, the Detroits, and now you're seeing a different type of team that's in our league. And I don't know if necessarily the NPSL is sustainable for what we need out of soccer for our club 5 years from now. So I think the league itself is something that is an unknown. But with that said, I think that we absolutely have shown the growth potential and the foundation for us to maybe take a step like that. If we had the money, it'd be great. But we'll just say we have the money. Someone hears this and is like, man, Paul really nailed it as a fan, and I'm going to put my hard-earned money in the tune of millions into this club because I believe in their mission. We get that money, or maybe the financial restrictions that a club like ours can't match. Maybe it gets relaxed a little bit to a certain extent where we can be included into a higher level than we're currently in. I could see a club like ours making a jump like that in 5 years. But with that said, I also believe that the other pieces from a grassroots perspective are things we would continue to do. We're always going to have our Stegman's Men's Club as a foundation because that's what this was all built from. We're always going to emphasize an amateur level that is solely based around local players because that was our mission from day one, and it will never waver. But wouldn't it be great if we had our kick around Sunday league? We had 2 amateur teams that kind of are a first and second team model, and then a higher amateur level or even a professional level that we had a team. So we had maybe 3 different levels that players plus the futures program as a 4th could be part of, but we could really see players grow and and move into being able to do it for a living. That'd be great.
That would be cool. You know, I'm intrigued by like the NISA. You know, they've got this concept. They don't really know what they're talking about yet, I don't think. But NISA Nation and doing some pro rel and stuff like that. I find that intriguing. I'm not saying that's where we should be, but I would love to see us start to build a pyramid somewhere, somehow. I don't know how.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why it's going to take 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah.
Well, Paul, awesome. So glad that we were able to have you on. So glad that, you know, a person like yourself is involved in our club at multiple touch points. So we really appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on being picked. And we look forward to getting out there as soon as we can, give pandemic aside, to throw some more soccer your way.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Paul. We'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Bye.
That is all for this week's show, folks. Thanks as always to our show sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. I went to pick up a 12er for when my sober October ends here in another week. So I have some in the hopper, Nate, and they were all out of Oktoberfest at the liquor store, and it was a sad, sad day for Senior Bisworm. So don't be like me, folks, and head down to your local stop and get some Oktoberfest for it. It truly is all gone, and you have to take the highway to Whiskey City, or whatever Nate said last week that made me laugh. So what did you say?
I don't know, the on-ramp?
The on-ramp, the exit ramp to Whiskeyville, or
Summit
whatever.
Porter
But
is definitely the
my
on-ramp
version
to
is-
Whiskey City, Whiskey Town.
Yeah, and I'll say take the highway to Whiskey City. Summit, a more meaningful brew since 1986. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it's time to give the club that gives back. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game, as well as our newly formed Futures Program Scholarship Fund. Consider a tax-deductible donation to a truly city-focused organization. Do you have anything you want us to cover? Any guests you want us to have on? Any quest you want us to partake in? Send us mail. It is easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch, or through email, mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And I'm sad to report, Nate, that our hotline number has been taken back by Google. So please feel free to give it a few days and then hammer the following number with prank phone calls. 612-460-5683. That's 612-460-5683. All questions and comments and concerns are welcome to the club, but definitely prank call that number. And finally, as always, you can complain to the club at MPLS City SC on Twitter. The first episode of Fut City, Fut Stuff, is in the books, and it was awesome, Nate. The second one is coming out on Thursday, October 22nd. Check it out on twitch.tv/MPLS City SC. And get on the ground floor of the Ultimate Team squad building with some 101 from Nate, Jonah Garcia, Max Degward. And it was so much fun to watch.
Thank you.
So for those of you who are futters out there, check it out. And again, it was twitch.tv/MPLS City SC. Excuse me. That does it for this week's show, folks. I am John. That was Paul. A great conversation with Paul. And of course, that was Nate. We'll catch you fine people next week as we look towards the off season, trying to figure out what we're going to do and get ready for some futures action coming up. And maybe we'll reveal what we plan to do instead of going through our dark period until the preseason starts. So until then, folks, you got hoofed.
The dark
Filthy
period.
animals. The dark period.
Poster burning maple weeds, cradle major keys. Thinking back, I've been major since the minor league. So supreme, too much sauce off my olive NMDs. I could staple steez, bend the goat so I get the cheese. Never fall, rake them leaves and make sure every moment gets seized. And everything I see is making